Hi everyone, it's a new month. I'm sure you missed me because I did not post last week. I don't know if you noticed, but I did post a fun YouTube short. I hope you managed to watch it because I was doing some parody about my interactions with clients at craft fairs, and it was just a very big hint of what we're going to do this month: selling, and of course today it's all about pop-ups and craft fairs. But either way, welcome to the channel. If you're new, thank you for subscribing. I usually focus a lot on fashion business related topics on this channel, and I hope you will be able to benefit. The context majority of the time is Kenyan, but I do try and add a global lens to what I do say. If you have not noticed, my voice is a bit raspy because I've been under the weather, and that is actually why I didn't post last week. And I guess we just get into it. So let's begin. So the focus for this month is about selling, and I wanted to build up on avenues you could sell your fashion products. I am focusing specifically on fashion products because it's a fashion channel, but anyone who sells any product might benefit from the information. I'm not a sales expert. I'm also doing a lot of trial and error of what works and what doesn't work. So I'm just going to share a lot of my personal experience and tips and tricks, and even information I've gotten from people who are actually successful at this or have been at it for a while and have learned lessons and adjusted and everything like that. So I hope you will learn something, and stay tuned for that. Today we are focusing on pop-up markets, craft fairs, and they're usually temporary. They run for 1 day, 2 days, some even 5 days. Basically, let's say 1 to 5 days. It really depends on who is organizing it. They do range in price, they do range in different audiences, and they do range in themes and everything like that. We're going to get into that, and I want to share just what I know, but I think would be very beneficial because I get asked these questions a lot as well. When people ask you, how was your experience in this market? Just because I didn't do well or because I did well doesn't mean it will reflect on you, because we are two different brands, and maybe one market is better for you than the other market and all that. So I'll just get into it and let's begin. So we are going to begin with the types of craft markets. So as I've said in the intro, they do range in size and themes and different things. And you will find that just because a market is cheap doesn't necessarily mean it's the best one for you. The reason being is that sometimes when someone makes the market very, very affordable, is that maybe they don't have a marketing budget. So they're relying on you to call your clients to come and purchase from you, or to rely on you to draw in the client. And you'll find that most of the very affordable markets are at a restaurant or a venue that really needs a crowd of people to come. I'm not saying all the ones that are at a restaurant are not good, but a lot of the very affordable cheap ones are usually at a restaurant or something like that. And you will find that if they didn't advertise the market, the people who are coming to the restaurant are not coming to buy your things, they're coming to eat food. So do check that. And then you'll also find some markets that are very big, but their focus is on the concert. Maybe they're advertising a concert at the end of the market, so you'll find that more people will come during the concert, and if you happen to sell, you sell. Or maybe there is a sports event, or some are actually more like opportunities for you to sell where there's an exhibition. So maybe it's a conference, maybe it's a church event or something like that. So I think that when you are considering which market to participate in, you need to also consider the kind of audience that will be there and the kind of event that it is. I'm not saying that participating in some of these you will not sell, but it could end up being a marketing thing for you. So also the reason you're participating is important. But there are some certain things that will always sell in some certain markets. Like if you're doing a concert, food will always sell, maybe a picnic mat will sell, or things like that will sell, because people are thinking about their comfort and how they're going to enjoy the concert. If you are doing a church event, theological books sell very well, or notebooks and things like that, journals. So you really have to check. And not every market is good for fashion items, so you really need to also research on which market is good for fashion items. Unless you just want to market your brand and you attend any market, a lot of markets are not good for fashion markets, because people don't necessarily go to markets unless there's a sale. They don't necessarily go to markets to buy clothes, you know. So just think about that, think about the scale. And these markets do range in price. The cheapest markets I've heard is 2,000 shillings, which generally are very, very cheap. Could be a car boot sale. And some of the most expensive can even be 100,000 shillings. And some are very curated as well. They're very particular with how they want the market to look and all that. So I'll get into all those other tips. So before you decide to participate in a certain market, my advice would be go as not a vendor, but just go and check it out. As a customer, talk to vendors, check price points, check quality of things that are being sold, check variety of things that are being sold, check activities, look at the customer behavior, see what they do, see what they like buying and all that. That would definitely inform you whether or not you should participate in the market. I know a lot of us do a lot of things by faith because you really just need to get out there, but I think it's wiser to do research and plan than to just go and participate in any market. Another thing to think about is that sometimes you could have done a market and it was a success, you did so well, but then the next time you do it, it doesn't do as well. A lot of factors can happen. An example I could give is there's a market I did that I did well the first time, and the next time I did it I didn't do so well. Reason being that there were so many markets on that day, so the customers were divided because the kind of customers we were getting coming to our market were also the same kind who would go to other certain markets, and maybe they went to those others because there was more variety, because the market I was participating in was very small. So sometimes things can happen. There was one I did where it really rained a lot, and it was like a storm. Actually, when we got home we realized it was actually like a flash flood, and it was a rare event, and it just happened. It was a very sunny day, very bright and hot, and then it became very dark, cloudy, windy, rainy with hailstones later. So things like that can happen. Another thing that could happen is the event was not advertised well, or maybe even someone copied your stuff. Maybe you came with stuff and you did so well last time, and then someone decided, oh, she sells those very well, and then they come and do it and they sell it cheaper. Not everyone is doing a market to build their brand. Some people just want to make money. So you don't have to take everything very personally, it's just how things are, but you can also take things very personally because you work very hard to come up with the ideas. So that's just another tip. There are markets, especially the very expensive ones, that are very strict with who they allow in. There's some that are very lenient and they will allow you to find a lot of people selling the same things, but there's some that are very strict. They even want brands. They don't just want anybody coming to sell in their market. They want it to be an established brand, or a brand that's at least a brand. Be a brand. There's something you're working towards, and they will choose people according to the products they're selling. So they will ask you for pictures, they will ask you for how you want to set up and everything. They're very particular. They want their market to be very curated because they attract certain people. Some of those kind of markets also attract buyers, people who have shops around, and they might actually come and buy things from you, make orders for you for their shop and things like that. So those are usually the best ones, and those are the ones that usually cost a lot, and they're usually also the best ones for the long haul, the ones you'll do for a very long time. Because the benefits are really good, but they're also very difficult to get into because of the particularness of it, which is not a bad thing. So it also challenges you to be very unique in what you want to present, because they also want their customers to have a nice experience and enjoy new things. And you know how customers like getting like the best deal and the most unique items. So I guess that is usually the thought behind it. And most of the time they are in very difficult places to reach. In Nairobi, where it's not easy to get access to public transport, you might find it might be easier to get with a cab, private car. So generally that's how it is. I would definitely advise you to interact with other vendors in whatever market you participate in. The reason being, as much as they are your competition, even if someone selling the same thing, it is a good way to build your networks around people who do what you do. A lot of vendors are very kind and they will share information about other markets they do well and they succeed in, and they could drop you in. It really depends on how you do it. And also another thing I usually do when I'm at some markets is I always put money aside to support a fellow vendor. And also most of the time when I'm buying food, I would rather support a vendor than come with food most of the time. I will carry water because water just tends to be ridiculously expensive, but with food, because people come with them, people sell the most unique food at these these events. So I usually like trying out different cuisines, so I always try to support different vendors who are bringing food. It's also just a good way to become friends with them, and also they'll share information with you more easily. So do that, talk to other vendors. You never know where it will lead you and how it will work out. Lastly, consider your transport, how you're going to get to these events. A lot of these craft fairs are very strict with the time you should arrive and your setup and all that. Some craft fairs have storage, others do not. You might, especially if it's a long period of time, it's wiser if they do have storage to always ask that if they have storage, or if they have security so that you don't have to set down your tent or anything like that. Check if they provide your chairs, tent and table, or some people provide the tent and you have to do the deco, buy the chair and rent the chair and the table. Some provide all three, but you do the deco. There are very many things. It really depends on what it is you are participating in. There are some craft fairs that do not have parking for vendors, so you might consider coming with a cab. Also have someone to help you, an assistant. It could be an employee, it could be just an intern, so they could learn, or someone to help you with setup, set down, take care of your stall when you go to the washroom, help you when you're busy with customers so that you're not stretched if you're talking to more than one customer, or they're doing their packing while you're selling and things like that. It's always wise. I've always found it easier for me when I have someone helping me. So those are the tips I'd give you offhand. So I want to get into now the nitty-gritties of things you should consider when you're selling at a pop-up market. I know it already feels like I've given you a lot, but there's a lot more in margin, and I'll do it in slide form so that you can take notes and all that, and let's get into it. So now I'm going to talk to you about what to consider when participating in pop-up markets, and we're going to start with the preparation before the market, and I'm going to give you 15 points. So the first one is marketing. You make sure that you market for the event on your social media pages, on your posters, on your email lists, what you're offering. You can say you're giving discounts, or you're doing a sale on all items and clearing stock and all that. And this is exclusive to the market. This will attract your customers, it will attract new customers, it will attract fans of your brand and everything like that. So it's a good way to get people coming to the market so that you can interact and get personal feedback from your customers and also getting new customers. Then next, have a checklist, because if it's your very, very first market, you might actually forget some certain things, and it's important to write everything you need for the day. So preferably have that checklist. Of course, a lot of it will be informed by what's being provided and what's not being provided, but it's important to have a checklist so that you don't leave anything behind. The third one is check what's being provided in terms of security. If the market is more than one day, you need to know if there will be a place to store your things, or there will be someone to look after the premise if you just leave your things displayed and everything, and maybe you just cover them and all that. You always have to assess things in advance. Trying to figure it out during the day can be very frustrating, and I'm talking from experience. Wear your merchandise. I've realized it's a great marketing tool, especially if it's a very new item you're trying to introduce. Wearing it really can draw people. You can get comments if you're told nice hat, nice dress, nice when you're like, oh, thank you, this is from my new collection and things like that. It's really, really helpful if you wear your merchandise, and sometimes people just need to see it on someone to understand the concept. Ensure your phone is charged, because you'll need to communicate a lot. You'll need to communicate with the vendor, the person who is providing the service, the organizer. You'll need to
communicate with your assistant, you need to communicate with your transport person, if you have M-Pesa like we do here in Kenya, you might need it for payment, for receiving payments, receiving messages, taking contacts of people if you decide to take it on your phone and everything like that. So having your phone is very, very important. Next, be on time. A lot of people think that the organizer telling you to come 2 hours before or an hour before is a suggestion. It's not. I've realized that it actually takes a lot of time if you really want to set up your space very, very well. There's nothing as embarrassing as trying to set up when people have already started working, which I've noticed a lot some people do. It's usually very embarrassing and it really confuses even the customers. Sometimes you even miss sales because you are not prepared. So set up earlier the better. Sometimes I personally like going early to set up, and then it's also because there are no customers yet, it gives me an opportunity to browse through what the other people are selling and what's happening and everything like that, and maybe even make a plan to buy something later or come to talk to a vendor later or anything like that. Display space, you'll be given what you need to sort out, your chairs, your table, the display unit, how you want it to look. You need to think about your space and how it is. Even if you're being given some of these things, you might not want it to look like everybody else's stall. You might want to make it look more attractive, or maybe you don't even need some of the things they're providing. So it's important that you think about that. Like one of the things I've had issues with is some craft markets don't even have space for my clothing rack because it's a budget craft market. So sometimes I always request that I'm put next to someone who doesn't take up so much space so that I can have space for my dress rack and make sure that it doesn't get wet or the sun doesn't damage the clothes or it doesn't get dust. You have to really think about things like that because most of the markets are usually open air. Make sure you have an information display unit that has your contacts, how people can pay, what items are on sale. The banners have, your business card and everything. Not everyone takes a business card. Most of the time, people will want to follow your social media pages. So just make sure all of that is indicated in your display so that people don't have to keep asking you for it. Because sometimes someone is not ready to purchase from you that day, but they might follow you and purchase from you later. So it's important to have that. Plan the products you are carrying according to the season. E.g., if it's Christmas, over here Christmas is very hot. So if you're selling clothes, because this is predominantly about clothes, make sure that it is in line with the weather. It's very hot here, so something suitable for the beach or something suitable for the city that's very light that people can wear. Because it doesn't make sense to carry winter jackets during summer here. People will not buy it at that time. So it needs to make sense. Maybe you're selling sandals and people are looking for nice, unique sandals to wear when it's hot and everything like that. So, or a hat because it's too hot and things like that. So think about the theme. Also, if you're doing gifts, small gifts, not everybody wants to buy an outfit as a gift. You could also just think about giving gift cards. Maybe someone likes the clothes but they don't know what to choose, and you have gift cards there, and someone can give someone a gift card and make sure it has an expiry date and it's stamped. Trust me. Another thing is, don't display all your inventory because it can really clutter your space. So just display a few things and it gives an illusion that the items are finishing. If you don't buy and these things are on sale, you will miss out. So shop now, basically. So ensure that you display a few things that will give the buyer an illusion that if they don't purchase, that it will go. So they will make a decision much faster. Put prices on your items. I know here in Kenya it's not popular to put prices. You'd rather someone come to ask you, but there is a reason why people don't like it. People usually feel like there will be an unfair pricing, especially foreigners, because there's a culture where foreigners are overcharged for things. But if you put prices on your items, they know that everyone is paying the same price. So it is just better to have that information right there. Even on the items on sale, some of the things I do to attract people to my space is I'll put the items on sale like really upfront. If I am selling my hair clips, which I make from my leftover fabrics, I will write 3 for 100, 1 for 50 bob, and you'll find people will buy 3 because they can be very nice gift items or something people just buy to support you because maybe they can't afford to buy everything, but they just are fun and they can buy something. So put items, just put the price there, just makes life easier for everybody. Have after sales strategy. So if you're going to be offering gifts or discounts, people sign up for your newsletter. Maybe you have a sign up sheet there. Just have a strategy to get people's contacts and get people's feedback, tangible feedback, because it really is a good way. Even phone numbers, if they agree. Most people don't agree to phone numbers, but if they agree, it's a good way to think about follow-up. And especially if someone took your contact and they say they will contact you with something and they lost your contact, it's a good way to follow up on things like that. Think of parking, food you'll eat, facilities to help yourself. Sometimes you don't think about that, but you make sure that even when you're planning to attend all that event, remember I said it's good to go beforehand, but always just check, is there enough parking? Even for your guests, even if they don't offer parking for the vendor, just make sure at least for your guests they will not struggle to get parking. Make sure there is food for you to eat, or you have money to buy food, and make sure that the facilities that you're going to use are good and sanitary, even for your guests. Have a mirror. There are many times people keep borrowing my mirror and it's very irritating. So have a mirror, because your clients might want to buy something, want to see how you look. So, and if your clothes need changing space, have a changing space. Sometimes it's wiser if you are different brands who have clothes and you decide to have a changing area, maybe that the whole market is using. It's usually much better than everyone having a single changing space. But depending on the space it is you have, just have a changing space, and so that your customers have privacy when they are changing. Then make sure you have packaging so that people can be able to carry your things. If it's branded, even better. When they carry, people know that they came from your stall. Some customers have their own bags, which is also fine, but it's important to have your own packaging, including thank you cards and things like that. So now we move on to preparation during selling. So when you're selling, ensure that you're tracking your sales. Keep track of all your costs, including the transport you used to go there, including how much you've paid the person who's helping you set up and set down, including how much money you spent on food. Ensure that you keep track of all your costs and do not use the money you've made to buy things from other people. Make sure that was already set aside from the very beginning. I had already mentioned this, but marketing also during the event is important. I know I mentioned marketing before the event. Also during the event, do Instagram lives, show people, take photos of customers buying things and post them on your social media to just show how active it is. It could also encourage people to come and shop from you, because they'll be like, oh, people seem to be having a lot of fun there, let me go. So ensure that you do that. Also record, oh, I'm setting up, or look what I'm doing, or look at the fun things I have, oh, this is almost out, are you here yet? Like, there's so many things, or we are here for 2 more days. Ensure that you just create a lot of fun and anticipation to the people who are not yet at the market. Have small things to sell. I know as fashion designers, we really want to sell our clothes on the day, but not everyone is usually ready to buy clothes, or you might not have something that fits everybody. So have other things people can buy. For me, I use my leftover fabrics to make a lot of accessories, like a pouch, hair accessories, basically things I would use myself, a bag and things like that. And I find that sometimes people just buy things like that because they're just looking for something more interesting, because a lot of them are made from my leftover fabric, so they tend to look a bit more unique because they are all different, because they're all from leftover fabric. Then if you have a store, ensure that you're very clear with where it is. There are people who prefer to spend more time in your store to come physically, and it's also a good way to market your store if you have a store. Listen to the feedback you're given. Not all feedback will be useful, but it's important to listen to it anyway, because there are people who suggest things like what they think you should sell, what they think would do well, colors you should do, things like that. All that is very important feedback, and maybe you never considered something. So it's always important to listen to the feedback. Collect emails, as I had mentioned before. Collect them, because if something happened to your social media, you'll be able to reach clients and tell them, this is where you can find me, this is where I'm doing my market, or there's something up in my social media, or do not respond to anyone who's coming in your inbox to ask you for money. It's not me, and all that. So it's very important. And then, as I said, most people do not buy things in the market, so it's a good way to give a special offer if they will come to your store, or if they will sign up on email, and then you can communicate after that. You can also do an attraction like come and have your measurements taken, know your measurements, and we'll do it for free. And then, you know, sign up for social media, because a lot of people don't know their measurements, trust me. Anyway, some buyers do come to craft fairs to specifically try and look for things they will put in their shop. So keep that in mind as well. Always be prepared. You never know, you're going to talk to someone who has a store and they want to keep your things in store. So also have a wholesale price in mind when you are selling. Don't just have your retail price, just in case you get buyers who want to buy off your clothes or something like that. You need to know and understand the customer and understand the right location and the product. So it really depends on the market you're selling at. You may go to a market where you paid 5,000 shillings, that's $50, and people there came to buy very, very affordable things, and you're selling your things very high end, and you might not make any sales. So make sure that you carry the right things to the right location. And I'm not saying that you can't get customers who could spend more in such markets, but most of the time they've come with a specific budget in mind. Understand again that most customers do have a budget. They've decided how much they're going to spend on buying things. It might not look like that, but most of the time they have. Especially the customers who will browse the whole market and then come back again after they've seen everything, and now they decide what they'll buy, and they bargain to a very specific amount. To realize it's because they have a budget they're trying to keep to, and they're looking for some very specific things. Also, at the end, do not compare yourself with other vendors. Even if they're selling more, it just may not be the right market for you, or it could be just not your day. So just ensure that you understand that perspective as well.
So I hope you've learned a lot. I hope that the information has been helpful and useful to you. I know it's a lot of information, but I just thought it's very useful, and I thought having it in one video is easier as a resource. So next week we're going to talk about online, whether it's your own website or marketplaces, and it's probably also going to be another long video. And then the very last week we're going to talk about pop-up store. It's different from a pop-up market. A pop-up store, long-term, short-term pop-up stores, and then having your own shop. What you require, even what the government is expecting from you. Although that is also in a playlist. Please check this specific playlist that I'm going to put this video on. Is a fashion business playlist. There's a lot of information about fashion business in Kenya. So if you watch a lot of the videos here, you learn a lot. And also there's a specific video that I did about what the government requires from you, both national government and county government. So it really, really helps you if you're setting up here in Kenya. So I guess I'll see you next week. Thank you for watching, and have a good week ahead. Bye.